What's up, guys? Jordan here, and today we're going to do something kind of fun. Last week we took a look at the Legend of Zelda Game & Watch, and that video did pretty well, actually. And what that actually led to was some conversation about like what other Game & Watch systems Nintendo could put out over the next few years. These seem to be looking to be an annual thing, with the Super Mario Bros. One being last year, Legend of Zelda this year, which makes you wonder, what could the next one be? What could be out next year? Who knows? We've been talking about it. We talked about it in the comments for the last video. I was chatting with you guys in Discord and other ways. But the point is that I came up with a list of 5 Nintendo first-party IPs that can work really well for a Game & Watch system. So let's go ahead and dive into this list and see if my ideas are any good. Okay, so the first one is one that we actually were kind of talking about openly. So anyone that was in the comment section or on Discord probably saw us talking about specifically this one. This is really the one that triggered all of this and got the gears going in my brain. And that would be Metroid. A Metroid Game & Watch would actually be like a really good follow-up to how strong Metroid was this year with Metroid 5. I think that's what Dread is. I think Dread is Metroid 5 releasing and being a really successful game. People are kind of like back in the whole Metroid thing. People are all hyped up for the Metroid Prime series coming back. And so if that game comes out next year and then you release a Metroid Game & Watch, that could be a really good option. Now, we got spoiled this year with the Game & Watch compared to last year because we got 3 full games, 2 console games and 1 Game Boy game. So if they were going to stick with the same form factor, they're going to be limited to just 2 buttons. So if that were the case, you pretty much can only put Metroid games on from the NES and the Game Boy era, which would basically Metroid and Metroid 2. Samus Returns, or The Return of Samus. Samus Returns was the 3DS remake. Return of Samus was the original title for it. So that being said, that one would really only have 2 games. And by the way, I totally forgot. I actually mentioned this in the review for the Zelda one, and why I just remember now is beyond me. It's only been a week. But nonetheless, it wouldn't be really all that disappointing if there were only 2 Metroid games, because Metroid for NES and Metroid 2 are both really massive games. And I think just having those 2 games, it wouldn't cheapen the console. Well, if you want to call it a console, it's a console, yeah. It wouldn't cheapen the Game & Watch by any means. So next up is another game that had 2 8-bit releases. And when I say 8-bit, I refer to the Game Boy as an 8-bit console and the NES. And that would be Kid Icarus. Kid Icarus is one of those games that I really, really liked on the NES. I never played the Game Boy version, which is kind of a shame. I should probably go back and check that game out, because I have to assume it's probably pretty similar to the NES version. People kind of described Kid Icarus as like the sister game to Metroid, because it was a similar layout, but Kid Icarus is significantly more linear, where Metroid is more open world and explorative. But I really, really always kind of liked Kid Icarus, believe it or not, more than Metroid. So just like the Metroid games, you have a single home console and a single handheld game. But they were both really, really cool games. They're both classic Nintendo games, and I think both of these would work really well on a Game & Watch, even though I kind of feel like Kid Icarus is that series that Nintendo kind of forgets about. There was that 3DS Kid Icarus game, which was like it was a 3D game, literally. And if I am correct, wasn't it the game that really kind of pushed the Circle Pad Pro, where you needed that right analog stick? I don't remember. I'll have to look into that. Clearly not prepared for this video. The next one on this list, this one would sell itself. You could literally put just 1 game on it and it would sell. But I have an idea for multiple games. And now you're wondering, like, what are you talking about? It's Pokemon. Pokemon. And this would be pretty much Game Boy and Game Boy Color games only. I would be shocked if Nintendo would put, red, blue, and yellow all onto a Game & Watch system, but yellow I think would be a good option. I think if you really push it as a yellow Game & Watch, like Pokemon Yellow, and made it yellow accent, and then maybe Pikachu on the back and have it glow similarly to the Triforce, that could be a really cool feature of a Game & Watch. But not only would I put yellow on there, I would also put Pokemon Pinball, which if you haven't played it, it's not a bad Pokemon game. It's not the smoothest Game Boy game, so I wouldn't say it would be a system seller for the Game & Watch, but it would be a nice like little snapshot of what Pokemon was at that time outside of just core Pokemon games. In addition to that, I would also put the Pokemon trading card game for Game Boy Color. Now, the game is not the easiest game to play in comparison to the desktop and mobile version of the current Pokemon trading card game, which, by the way, I love that game. If you haven't played it, it's fantastic. In fact, anytime I buy Pokemon cards, I just kind of put the cards away and I use the codes and I use digital versions of those cards in that game because it's really, really, really fun. And you can play against other people without having to leave your house. But I think those 3 games would make for a really, really, really great Game & Watch. I think that would be a $50 value also. And the idea here is that I'm really trying to make sure that you can justify that $50 also on this hardware. Where I've said this before, the Super Mario Brothers one, it just was not worth $50 to me. We all bought it because we fell for the gimmick. And in fact, I would never have bought the Zelda one if it wasn't loaded with 3 titles. They really, I think they heard, they understood, they knew their mess up, and they fixed it with that. So next, I have another Nintendo staple. This is a series that people play. A lot of people play this game. It's still getting new releases up until the Nintendo Switch, and that would be our little buddy Kirby. Kirby's got an interesting story because the original Kirby's Dream Land, was the first Kirby game, and that was made for the Game Boy. In fact, when Kirby's Adventure came on the NES is when they first showed Kirby have color, and no one really knew what color he was going to be. So people were kind of surprised when they saw Kirby's Adventure and he was pinkish. But nonetheless, we got 3 8-bit Kirby games. We got Kirby's Dream Land 1 and 2 for Game Boy, along with Kirby's Adventure for the NES. In fact, Kirby's Adventure for the NES is the first Kirby game where we actually see Kirby have his trademark powers where he were to eat an enemy and then use the power of that enemy against other enemies, which now is a staple of Kirby. Like when you think Kirby, that's what Kirby does. Kirby's Dream Land for Game Boy, he didn't actually have those powers. That being said, we have 3 strong Kirby titles, which would make for a really, really good Game & Watch system with Kirby. Would it be pink? Would we have a pink Game & Watch? I wonder what that would look like. So the grand finale on the list. This is an obvious one. And this is the one that I feel like would sell the most because I think once people knew it existed, people would just pick it up. They would pick it up for the same reason the original Game Boy sold. If you haven't figured out already, the game would be Tetris. Now the question is which Tetris would Nintendo want to market this around? I have a pick of what Tetris games I would want on the system, but now would it be the Game Boy Tetris, which some say is the definitive Tetris game, or would you have the NES one be your main Tetris game? Nonetheless, I would say put both of those on there. Not only that really weird Tetris 2, which I don't know. I've never played it. I've seen gameplay of it. It just doesn't look right to me. And only because it's one of my favorite Game Boy games, Tetris Attack. Now, the whole Tetris name doesn't even fit this game at all because the whole idea of Tetris is four pieces in 4 blocks. 4 square blocks in your single piece. A tetri, right? Yes, I hope I'm saying that right. If I'm wrong, someone will correct me in the comments below. Nonetheless, Tetris Attack had nothing to do with Tetris. Literally, you would just flip items to match them up for them to disappear. But that game is super addictive, and I love that game. And it would have to be on the Tetris one. I mean, who cares? Just throw the ROM on there. Nintendo, you own the ROM. It makes no difference. It doesn't cost you any extra money. But as I was saying, people bought the Game Boy just to play Tetris. Imagine having years of classic Tetris games in something this size. That would be awesome. People would take this everywhere with them. Everyone would have one. They'd actually probably sell a whole bunch of those. Hey Nintendo, if you're watching, I think you should listen to what I'm telling you because it would be a smart move. It would be a smart move. I would love it. I would be the happiest person. Give me a Tetris Game & Watch. So there we go. Those were 5 Nintendo franchises that would make for a pretty good Game & Watch, in my opinion here. You let me know in the comments below what you think about my list. If you have a suggestion for any other games that would be first-party releases, and whether or not you think that this is a good idea or a bad idea, or these are big, stupid money grabs by Nintendo, which most things Nintendo does is a big, stupid money grab, but we won't get into that right now. I will also tell you while making this video, my list consisted of well over 10 games. Half the list was third-party games. This video originally was going to be much longer. It was going to be a combination of first-party and third-party games. I realized, you know what? I don't think I should do that. We should really separate these. So if this video does well and you guys like this, I am going to follow this up very quickly with 5 third-party games that would work on a Game & Watch. Games that, although third-party, are synonymous for being NES games. That's the big thing about it, is that it's not just random third-party games. These are games that you could only play on Nintendo. And when you think of the game, you think of it as literally a Nintendo game. So also, if you want to see that video, do let me know in the comments below. And if you like this video, please hit that like button. Hit that like button. It actually helps a lot. YouTube sees likes, and then it pushes your video out for more people to see. And I want people to watch this. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. Hit that little bell to be notified when new videos do go live. You find links below for social media, including Instagram and TikTok. If you particularly like what I do here, you'll find links below for Patreon, along with Spring, where I have Punch and Pie merch, from t-shirts to mugs to pretty much a bunch of other things. All designs that I've designed, all logos I designed myself. I made it. I created it all myself. Anyways, until next time, this is Jordan. I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.